Welcome to the In the Blind podcast. Today we have Craig Campbell on with us today.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us,
Man,
buddy.
dude, I appreciate the invite. Well, I think I invited myself. Somehow I saw y'all's post and I was like, hey, man, let me get in. I got some things to talk about.
Absolutely.
I got some people to throw under the bus.
We should have shot you the picture of the couches, and people might not be able to see you over there. You got camo on camo over there.
I was told today that this is like some sort of German camo. I had no idea that was a thing, but yeah, I don't know. World War II.
I like it. It's cool.
They shoot animals in Germany too, I'm sure.
I guess so.
They do. I'm leaving for Germany on Wednesday.
Nice.
You taking your rifle?
No, but with all these refugees, I might need to.
From what I hear, it's not too easy to travel around Europe with a gun.
No, it definitely isn't. But they all got them over there. At least the ones that own land.
Yeah.
A lot of hunting stands when you're driving through the countryside.
Yeah. So what you got going on these days? You got some new music coming out?
Man, it's music is a way of life. It never stops. It's and no matter what level you're doing it, if it's just for fun or if it's just to put out music on every 5 or 6 weeks, whatever the program is these days. But about 6 months ago, I decided to. It's probably the dumbest idea I've had in a long time, but I've decided to give radio a whirl but still be independent. So I'm doing it essentially the whole Drew Baldridge thing. You know how last year he took She's Somebody's Daughter all the way to #1, all on his own, self-funded.
Yeah.
He put his own team together. So I'm using that blueprint, and I got my team together. I got the song. I think the timing's right. And so far so good. I mean, if we come back and talk about this in 3 or 4 months, I'll probably be ready to jump off a bridge, but at the moment it's a lot different because I am independent, and you know as well as I do how deflating it is to do this with a record company and knowing that they control everything. So it's different that way, that we control it and we can do whatever we want and we can not do whatever we don't want to.
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
it's just but radio can break your heart, and I'm keeping my expectations low. And if something cool happens, great. If nothing happens, then it's no big deal.
You did something you're proud of.
Yeah.
It can break your heart, but it also makes your wildest dreams come true.
Absolutely.
Also.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Double-edged sword there.
So there's that. And then my restaurant, the Grindstone Cowboy is doing really well. We're about to open location number 2
Nice.
in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Where is the location number 1 at?
Location number 1 is in Eagleville, Tennessee.
Eagleville. Nice.
Yep.
Love it out
A
there.
little small spot.
Yeah, you had Steven and I come out and
Yeah,
play it. It was
I had the L&T
awesome.
guys.
That steak dinner was pretty incredible.
The Tennessee Craft Butcher knows what they're doing for sure.
Those guys are great.
So that's happening. My girls, we talked about just having 2 teenage daughters that are in full year-round volleyball. So right now we're in club ball season.
So they both play volleyball?
Yeah, they're both volleyball. They're both setters. So they're on some really good teams, and so yeah, it's a different. Last week it was in Atlanta. This week in Orlando.
I was about to say, people don't realize I was a high school athlete and college athlete, and people don't realize how much parents work with these kids, man. I mean, it's a full-time job just getting them there and, making sure they're in the right places at the right time, much less, when you start getting into private lessons and stuff on the side and how much all that stuff costs and equipment and gear. And, it's a lot of work, man. And, I'm so grateful for my parents and, doing in at every practice. And, my uncle, I was raised by my great aunt and great uncle, and my uncle got sick. He had cancer when I was in high school or going into high school, junior high school. And whenever he couldn't coach my teams anymore, my aunt, literally, who'd never coached a ball team in her life, she stepped in and filled the role, Yeah. And some of my best friends growing up, their dads were her assistant coach, and she doesn't know anything about sports, but she knew a lot about getting people together and getting them all going in the same direction. So, parents are, they go, it goes unnoticed a lot of times, but you guys do a hell of a lot of work behind the scenes to make it happen for these kids.
Yeah, I mean, me and Eric were talking about it earlier. I have 2 great girls, and I truly think they understand what we're doing as parents. I I wanted my girls to experience this for no other reason than I didn't get to as a kid.
Yeah.
I was my mom and my dad both were full-time 8-to-5 jobs, and we lived about 20-25 minutes from the school. So, anytime I would throw the idea out that I wanted to either, go to spring training and try to play baseball or I didn't want to play football because I knew I wasn't big enough. But I felt like, I want to do something. But every time I'd get settled in with spring training, it would never fail. 2 weeks in, my mom and stepdad would be like, "Hey, you have to quit because we can't do this."
Yeah.
And so, all that to say, my girls, I made sure that when that time came, we're going to move mountains, make sure that they can do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Same thing for me. My dad worked 8 to 5 every day. My mom was a nurse, and then when I was in middle school, she got a few different cancers and stuff, so she was in bed a lot. And my best friend's parents, the Bards, they took me to and from practice. My aunt and uncle, they picked me up and took me to practice, so they made it so I could at least play on the school teams, but I never really got to play much club ball. I played a couple years of club soccer, and that was awesome. But that's the same thing for me. I want my kid to have those opportunities I didn't have, and he loves his AAU basketball teams, and I was telling you, it feels like a full-time job, but
it is.
It's worth it just to see, his discipline, his work ethic. He's maturing way faster than I ever did, and it's fun to watch, and he loves it, and I love seeing him happy and doing something he enjoys.
That's the best part about it. My girls love it; they love volleyball. But yeah, it doesn't go unnoticed on my girls, and I do appreciate that. But it gets hectic, especially with two of them.
Yeah.
It eased up a little bit this year because my oldest got her driver's license, so.
Yeah, she can drive to practice.
Yeah, she can get to practicing back and maybe even go pick Kenny up every night, and help with that. But yeah, I got good girls.
How old's your youngest?
14.
14.
Yep.
Nice. I'm lucky that I've got a 5-year-old that hasn't even started kindergarten yet. So.
Well,
but now I'm gonna have to do it all over again.
Man, it's a double-edged sword. You like, man, that's cool to have them so far apart, but I love and I hate that mine are so close together just because it's all happening at once.
Right.
How old is your oldest?
16.
So they're what, like 8?
2.5 years apart.
2.5.
2 grades apart.
And me and my brother are 18 months. A lot of times that people thought we were twins. We were on the same teams a lot of times because we were so close in age. It definitely worked out.
My oldest wouldn't want me to admit this, but I think my youngest is actually about an inch taller than my oldest, and she hates it when that gets brought up.
Yeah, volleyball too. So that's what happened to me. My brother caught me when we were like 4 or 5. I don't even remember what it's like to be bigger than my little brother. Yeah, which is kind of annoying. I feel your oldest daughter on that one. It is definitely a little bit annoying. Yeah. I made sure he always knew that I'll kick his ass, though.
Yeah. That's a trip. That is a trip. It's a psychological thing.
It is.
Because my youngest, she's a badass. Mm-hmm. Tough.
Yeah.
But for some reason, she is absolutely like respect for her older sister.
That's great.
And in my brain, I'm thinking, you could whoop her if you wanted to. But I think it's a mental thing. I think she just thinks she's my older sister. She would win.
Right.
And so she don't even try it.
That's kind of how my brother was. My brother, when we would get into fights, he didn't really fight back much, which didn't make it much fun for me either. It's not really fun to punch a sack of taters, but he really didn't. And I think it is more of a respect thing because we were kind of rivals. We both played sports, and him catching me in size, we were kind of rivals, so we didn't really like each other.
Right.
But there was definitely a big brother, little brother dynamic and respect there. And I can, promise you that if when we got into high school, if somebody put their hands on my brother, they were dealing with me. And whether they were wrong or right, it didn't matter.
And vice versa.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You all close now?
Super close. He's one of my best friends.
Awesome.
He's had a long journey. He struggled with addiction. We talked a little bit about your sister before. He struggled with addiction for 12, 13 years, and he's now clean and sober for about 3.5. And it's awesome, man. It's like getting somebody back. It's like I don't care what anybody says. When somebody's struggling with addiction, they're gone. Like the person that you know, or like the kid that I grew up with and was, so close to and did everything with, he was gone for 12, 13 years. Like some of the things that my brother did while he was addicted, that person that I knew growing up would never do. And the person that I know now and today would never do.
Right.
But that person he was while he was addicted was capable of a lot of terrible shit. And he'd be the first one to say that, And it's incredible, though, that this world gives you an opportunity to change, gives you an opportunity to come back around. If I'm a Christian, so I feel like if you pray real hard on anything, God listens, and he certainly did to my family. When we look back and we look at my brother, I mean, he was almost gone, and I thought I was going to lose him. I told anybody 5 years ago that he'd never make it to 40, and now here we are, and
That's awesome.
And he's got a great life. He lives with my mom and my stepdad now, but they need him. He takes care of them. He's a huge.
Was there a big turning point?
Man, he almost died. We found him. He's missing for 4 or 5 days, and he was in a parking garage downtown here in Nashville, and it was January. So when I found him, I basically had called. We tried everything trying to find him. I finally thought, I'm going to call the people who sold him his car. I called them, and sure enough, they had a GPS tracker on the car. Didn't want to give it to me at first, legal reasons, totally understandable. Finally talked to the owner of the place and was like, look, this is life and death. He's been gone for 4 days. He's probably dead already. I'm trying to find a dead body. I was like, so I need some help. And the guy's like, give me a minute. And within 3 minutes, he sent me a Google Maps of my brother's location. And got down there, and he wasn't dead, but he was very, very close. He had gotten a blood infection from shooting up. So it wasn't drugs that had him in the parking lot. It was the blood infection. And he was in real bad shape. I got him to the emergency room, and the doctor told me in the emergency room, he said if he'd spent another night in the car, he'd have been dead. And then that was basically, I think the trigger for him was that he couldn't hide anymore. Like, I saw it all. I saw the holes in his body. I saw his body rotting. I saw everything you could see. And then I sat in the car with him on the way there, and he was basically trying to prep me for that. And he said, for the first time in his life, he looked at me and he said, your brother's a drug addict. And I said, well, no shit, Sherlock. I've fucking known this for 15, 12 years. But like, he's never admitted it. He's never said it out loud.
That's a big deal.
And then I took him into my home, and we got him clean for about 6 months, and he had some struggles. And then my parents, so like I said earlier, I was raised by my great aunt and great uncle. My mom and my stepdad stepped up, and they took him in. And my mom is a very down the line type person. So there is no, if he fucked around there, he's kicked out, and there's no coming back. And I basically, on the way over there, told him, I said, hey, dude, this is your last chance. Like, you're going to die. Like, you will die. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, you will not live if you cannot go over to mom and dad's and get sober.
Yeah.
And, dude, he did it. And, I mean, my mom's a scary person. Like, she can be a scary person. But that's just the love in her, Like, she's not going to let you go out like that without a fight.
Well, you got to have people like that around you.
Yeah, and she did. I say we saved him, but I mean, they saved him, they really did, and I'll never be able to repay them back for that,
Well, they didn't do it to be paid back.
No, and I know they didn't. And they, you can see it in them, it's made their lives better. Like I said, he's there helping them now. He does a lot of the yard work. He helps my stepdad around the house. He does anything my mom asks. And we talked about getting him out of there, like him going back and getting his own place and stuff. And my mom, she started getting emotional pretty quick. And she told me in a private conversation, she said, I think we need him. And I was like, hey, if he's happy here and y'all are happy here, That's all that fucking matters. I don't care as long as everybody's happy and safe. And I just, in my mind, I'm thinking, if I got a 40-year-old son living at the house, I want his ass out of here.
We don't want him living at the house.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, he provides a lot of help and things that they need, and you know, also him doing that, I think, has been therapeutic for him. You know, and it's also the bond between them has grown such a great deal. Us being raised by our great aunt and great uncle, you know, this is the first time he's ever gotten that from his mom. You know, which is huge.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, it's just a very blessed, man. Very
good.
blessed.
That's awesome.
Love hearing good stories.
Yeah. Sorry to take over the cast there for a few minutes, guys.
All good. It's cool. It's your mom. It's like she had a second chance at being his mom again.
Yeah,
in a different way.
And I mean, she was always around when we were kids. Right. And I don't want anybody to think my mom wasn't a mom. She certainly was, but you know, the bulk of the raising was done by my great aunt and great uncle, and you know, until you're hands on with your kid, there's certain things that you just don't get about being a parent. I don't think, you know, and I mean, they definitely, my mom definitely gets it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My mom and my real dad, they divorced when I was a baby, and then my stepdad came into my picture around when I was 7, and thank God, because I don't know, I was definitely not a good kid. I was the baby. I was the youngest, and I was just my mom was working 3 jobs, and I was not on a good path. And even when my stepdad came into the picture, I still was rebellious to an extent, but she let him do what he needed to do.
Yeah.
And even though he wasn't like a public affection, like he didn't he didn't hug me and didn't tell me he loved me out loud, blah blah blah. I knew he cared about me, and I knew he provided, and so I've done some soul searching later in my life, and now that I'm a dad, I make sure that my kids have no doubt how I feel about them.
Yeah,
like every day, damn it, you're gonna hear I love you, as somehow, some way, and because I feel like I didn't have it, and it turned into some things that I wasn't very proud of, even as an adult. And I said, and I chased it all down through, therapy and talking about it, and realized that I didn't have any of that. So I want to make sure my girls have it.
Yeah.
Did your song "Family Man" come about before that kind of realization and that soul searching?
So if you think about Family Man, I wasn't a dad yet. I wrote that when I found out Mindy was pregnant.
Right.
And so the blueprint, that was it.
Yeah.
That's the guy I wanted to be.
Right.
And that's pretty cool.
Because I wasn't a dad yet, but I knew I had a buy here, pay here truck.
Right.
That was a real piece of that song.
Yeah.
But I wrote it just because, and shit, I was barely a husband at that time, and I'm still trying to figure that out too.
You and me both.
but yeah, Family Man was like me trying to look into the future at who that guy was.
Yeah, who you wanted to be.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Very cool.
It's interesting to have that blueprint and see where you want to get to, and it's crazy how life shapes you and probably takes you on a winding road to get there.
Oh, no doubt.
But hearing you talk now about your girls and knowing what you've been through, knowing the businesses you're running and everything, it's cool to have kind of had a, I don't know, I've known you for 18 years I think, and to be able to watch your career and all that and kind of have a front seat kind of view of that, it's been really cool.
It's such a trip when the idea that you can wake up and make a living doing music was planted, and a seed was planted with me 25 years ago before I moved to Nashville. And it's crazy to think that you can do that.
Yeah.
That you can move to Nashville and do all that.
Yeah.
It's the return on the investment is minimal as far as like being successful with it.
Right.
And so when we're able to do what we do, and pay bills with it. That's you're in the top 1% of the world.
Yeah, that's what my wife's a songwriter.
Crazy.
And she said that she started out with the plan to be an artist, and she just loves music. And you know, we talked about the artist thing for years and years, and then we sat down one day, and I said, "Look, what do you really want to do?" And she said, "I just want to be able to pay my bills doing something
That's
I
it.
love." And I said, "Cool." I was like, "Then let's change our approach just a little bit." I was like, "Because in this town, what pays the bills is the writing of the songs." I was like, "So let's focus on that. And then if you can make it as a writer, you can kind of dictate your career as an artist." I mean, and from the outside looking in, anyway, that's kind of what it looks like to me, because then you're not necessarily beholden to the label for money. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, it definitely relieves some of that pressure,
yeah.
the financial pressure. You know, who wouldn't want to be able to just write songs and collect a check
Right.
in the mailbox
Yeah.
for a living,
How cool.
and then go out and play and sing as an artist for fun?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the whole Stapleton path is like the dream of all dreams.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
write 10 number one songs before you ever break as an artist, and then
Yeah.
now you can just.
So I was at a round a couple years ago and chatted with Wendell Mobley. And, you know, when you watch that guy sing and play, all you can think is like, why was this guy not Brooks and Dunn?
100%.
Like, holy crap. Like,
Insane
he's
voice.
literally
Stupid good.
freaking believable.
Yeah.
And I talked to Wendell, and he's just like, didn't really want to be an artist. And I'm like, really?
You know, that's the same story I've heard about Hillary Lindsey, you know, because everybody's like, says she's turned down record deals from everybody in town.
I don't doubt it.
And she's just like, I don't want to do that.
I remember the first time I ever wrote with her, I was like, why the hell are you not an artist? You have such
one
an
of the
incredible
best voices I've ever heard.
Yeah.
You know?
But in circles, you know, with us, you know, like if you bring up the name Wendell Mobley, like I just, you know, y'all's reaction is the same. Like in people who know, he's like, those are the people who really matter to me.
Hey, there was a hot
And
minute.
I was like, hell yeah, that makes a lot of great sense.
There
like,
was a hot minute nobody knew who Stapleton was either.
Yeah.
It's true.
Except us. You know, the Nashville
Yeah, I
team.
remember he was singing one of the lead singers of the Steel Drivers.
Yeah.
And like that's the first time I saw him. I mean, I'd written with him one time, I think, at the very beginning.
I found out who Stapleton was years ago. When I was playing on Lower Broadway, I met a guy named Jameson Clark, and he was over at Big Yellow Dog, and he had worked with Stapleton, wrote with him, and so Jameson sent me a song called Drunkard's Prayer, a demo, which Stapleton eventually put it on a record.
Yeah.
When I get drunk and talk to God. So when I heard that song, I said, "Who's this?" And he told me, and I said, "I want every Stapleton demo you got, and I want you to send it, put it on a CD, and I want all of them." And man, I was playing Lower Broadway, and I bet I had 5 Stapleton songs I did in my show that were not hits.
Yeah, right.
It was just demos. He's just a stud.
Well, I had to tell him, I think the first time I met him, he wasn't big or he didn't have a beard.
Yeah.
I was like, so I remember Chris Stapleton when he wasn't a big guy and he didn't have a beard.
I met him one time, first time in Guitar Center. He's back there looking at the acoustics, and I recognized him, and I was like, "Hey, I'm Craig. I'm a big fan." Thank you. Like it was
very quiet,
very
reserved,
little interaction.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay. Sorry to bother you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when he was first starting out on the artist side of things. We played a radio show with him in Oklahoma, and it started snowing, and he knew his flight was going to get canceled. And we had played a show the night before, so we had our bus out there, and he rode our bus back with us. And I remember just sitting in the back lounge with him for a couple hours, just picking his brain, and drove him to the airport once we got back to pick up his car. And he was telling me all the songs he had written, and I felt like a dumbass. I didn't know. And he played me his version of Luke's song "Drink a Beer," I guess it was.
Drink a beer.
Just blew me away.
Yeah.
And you know,
when
I had seen him with the Steel
it?
Drivers before that, but it was a totally different song at that point
Same.
for me.
Yeah.
And
Anytime you hear the songwriter do it, especially the people, somebody like Chris Stapleton, and then like, what's that song? He had a song on Leanne Womack, that I May Hate Myself in the Morning record. He actually sang backup or backgrounds on it too. I can't think of the name of it. I think him and tall fella, bald with a goatee.
Marvel.
Kendall
Kendall
Marvel
Marvel?
wrote. Yeah, it's just. But same thing. Just even Leanne Womack, as good as she is, like I think she's in the top 3 female singers for
hands
me,
down,
my whole
for me
life
too.
ever.
Yeah.
When you hear Chris do it, it's just like a
different.
whole nother
Yeah.
thing. And like, whoa.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he's a special talent.
He is.
Definitely.
Didn't you play keyboards for Luke at some point?
So I played piano for Luke Bryan for a little while. Before he had his record deal. So this is, I guess, 05, 06-ish. No, 04 probably.
You guys know each other down in Georgia before?
No,
or?
I didn't know Luke until I moved here. I had already moved to town, and I didn't go to college. And so he went to college about 45 minutes from where I grew up. A lot of my buddies went to college. So a lot of my buddies knew who Luke was. I had never even heard of him. And mutual friend said that he was looking for a piano player for some college town dates. And he put my name in the hat, and I met up with Michael Carter, and Michael gave me a CD, and I learned these songs, and I was listening to Luke sing, and when I first met Luke, I had a totally different image of who I was about to meet. Was not what I saw.
Right.
It was you know how when you hear somebody, you have an image of what they look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't anything what I thought he was. I was thinking cowboy hat, heavy set, just the total opposite of who he was. So I played for Luke for a while, about, I don't know, not even a year. And then I played for Tracy Byrd for about 2 years.
Was that after
Yeah.
that? So like 06, 07?
So 05 and 06 is when I was with Tracy, so that's why I was thinking the Luke Bryan stuff was like 04.
Yeah.
I think we're close to the same age. You big influence, 90s
Oh,
country,
100%.
big
Yeah,
influence on
No,
you.
I mean, I just turned
Love
46.
Tracy Byrd back in the
Oh,
day,
yeah.
man. Some good songs.
That was a trip for me. Like I grew up listening to him play, as a kid. Like not necessarily. I was in high school when he was hitting it pretty hard. But to be able to fast forward, not even 10 years of graduating high school, I'm his piano player.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking cool.
That was pretty awesome.
I think it was in 06 or 07 we played like 4 shows with him, and one of them was at the Dallas Bowl in Tampa, and I'm pretty sure you were playing keys for him at that point, because I feel like that was the first time I ever met you.
It's very possible. I got let go towards the end of it, 06. It was the damnedest firing. Like we had shows that weekend, and the band leader took me to his, like, say, hey, let me talk to you. And so on Friday night, we had just got done with our Friday night gig, and he's like, hey, just want to let you know, we're letting you go. Nothing to do with your playing and blah blah. It's just Tracy's decided he don't want a piano player no more. It still didn't sting any less. Like it was like. But the worst part was I had a show to do the next night with him, knowing that I was fired.
Yeah,
like, why didn't you wait till Saturday night?
Yeah.
But no, Tracy, he's been great to me. He's texted me a bunch of times, and even like right after our Family Man came out, he was like, way to go, and proud of you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What year was Keep Them Kisses Coming?
So Keep Them Kisses Coming was 2014. That was the very first. Keep Them Kisses Coming was the very first On the Verge.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And you did that with Michael Powers?
Yeah, so that was the last song we got to work.
What was the name of that label?
Bigger Picture.
Bigger Picture, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, because that was right around the same time. I think Angel Eyes was a big song for us, and we did tons of radio shows.
Oh, we were crossing paths a lot back then.
I think that's when we all became really good friends.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard not to when you're spending that much time on the road
right.
with each other,
and especially too when you're just fans of each other. Like I've told you this story many times, but I mean I remember back when there was 3 of you.
Yeah. And
I was sitting getting my seat, I think at the CMAs, and you guys were doing some pre-show.
Yeah, you're hosting the pre-show. Yeah.
And the teleprompter quit working, and they were like, somebody said, sing, sing, and y'all just started singing.
Yeah, it was the guy. I forget.
Runaway.
Yeah, I forget his name because we've seen each other a couple times since then, and he like posted on my wall on Facebook when I made a political post about something. He's like, I still remember when we were just trying to kill time, and he got on the loudspeakers like the voice of God. He was like, "Well, boys, I heard you guys got some good 3-part harmony.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it."
Buddy,
so we just busted into the chorus of it, and
I looked at my wife. I said, "These guys are fucking good."
And that was really the first time people actually gave a shit about us at all, because we're 3 young kids that thought we knew what we were doing, thought we had it figured out.
That was the first time I'd heard of y'all, and I was like, yeah, you made an impression on me.
Oh, well, that's good enough. I mean, we were on the same label at the time as Rascal Flatts,
Yeah,
amazing 3-part harmony, another trio, and they kind of tried to keep us separate over there, and so we felt like. It's our time to like show people that we can actually sing.
That Angel Eyes was a very relatable song, I think, for a lot of men out there. A lot of us have dated a pretty girl who's crazier than shit.
Yeah. To this day, yeah, that's since the days of Adam and Eve, bro.
100%. Yeah, literally, Eve could have been
she's the matriarch.
Well, we joked that like we wrote about Steven's sister because he's a preacher's kid. My dad was a music pastor at our church, so we both had a very intimate understanding of like the preacher's kids usually being the crazy ones that got away with murder.
Dude,
so kind of where it came from.
You Baptist kids were rough, boy.
Oh yeah.
Like some of the wildest times I've ever experienced were backstage at a Southern gospel concert. You kidding me? Y'all think these boys can party? Mm-mm. You get back there behind some of them, like the Southern Gospel was about 4 or 5 of them get together.
Oh, yeah. You know Paul Sanders?
I do know Paul.
He used to play with like the Gaithers and Gaither vocal band and stuff. And some of the stories he's told me, he's like, "Oh, you thought that we knew how to party
to get it
done. We would put people in the rock, hip hop, country world to shame."
Absolutely, I've heard. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I played bass in like for kind of CCM act for a little while, and I'm thinking I'm gonna go out there. It's gonna be
super chill.
Worship service every night. And you're pray on the bus, and like I was, in my little Christian box, and that was my first kind of major eye-opening experience. Like, holy shit, this is wild. Like, if this is like this, how the other formats?
I'm telling you,
apparently that was the worst.
The Righteous Gemstones out there.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. Which that is an amazing show.
Yeah, it is pretty great.
It's so accurate.
You had a chance to see that, the Righteous Gemstones?
I haven't. What do you?
So it's you've seen Eastbound and Down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Danny McBride.
It's Danny McBride, but he's basically the son of an evangelical preacher father, and it's like a whole family. They're all in the religious business, and it's like
a mega church.
It's like a mega church.
And the father is what's his name? John Goodman.
Yeah, it's John. It's great.
It's so good. You should totally. It's on HBO. You should
now.
Watch it.
Oh, okay.
It's
my
What's it called?
The Righteous
Gemstones.
Okay.
My mom and my grandmother.
I love that kind of stuff.
Would probably
it's so
call
good.
it
You will laugh your ass
blasphemous,
off.
but it's definitely hilarious, and there's a lot more honesty in it than most churches would ever admit.
Frighteningly accurate. For what
most things are like, if you think some of the greatest comedies of all time make fun of real life stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just life is funny.
They tell the truth.
It is. Yeah.
The truth is funny.
Yep.
100%. My wife has
and funny is funny.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be honest.
My wife tells me all the time that you're mean or you're so sweet. Those are 2 things I hear a lot, and my response is always like, "Honey, I'm neither one. I'm just honest."
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't trying to be nice when you thought I was being nice, and I wasn't trying to be mean when you thought I was being mean. I was just telling you the truth.
The truth.
That's very difficult for people to understand.
It is.
It's not difficult. It's just difficult for them to.
Yeah.
It's difficult for people to accept, I think.
There you go.
No doubt.
So are you still involved in the political world at all? I know you ran for the city council.
Yeah. I'm still got my seat.
Nice.
City council.
How's that been?
It's been good. Like Eagleville's small, so there's not a whole bunch of things going on. Not no big decisions to be made. I mean, I think one of the biggest decisions we've made so far is to approve the building of our big new fire hall we got, which they had did all the legwork for the past 10 years, and I just happened to come in at the last second and sign the thing, or vote yes on it. we haven't had like, I'm still learning. I'm like, this whole political world of like the Roberts rules and blah blah blah, all that stuff is a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm it's very intriguing. I love it. I love sitting there and listening to people talk and getting asked a question that I don't know the answer to, and then finding out the answer.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Do you notice like at that local government level that you see on a smaller level kind of the things that are happening, in big government? I mean,
yeah, we don't. There's not much headbutting like you see on TV, like with bigger government. Most everybody on our 6 seats, we all kind of feel the same.
You're on the same page.
Yeah, so it's usually. I have not yet any one person vote against the other ones. Like it's all the.
So I know it's very rural out there. It's a small town. Are mostly Democrats, and you feel like
What?
I mean, I'm just like, so I preface that with, I grew up on a farm in Humphreys County, Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. My family's farm bordered Loretta Lynn's ranch. Well, most of the people from that rural area, they grew up Democrat their whole life. And they don't change. Like, they don't now all of a sudden vote Republican, even though they don't agree belief-wise with anything the Democrats.
But what Democrats believed back then was more or less.
Well, no, that's kind of what I'm getting
now,
at. Is
so.
like sometimes in those rural areas, those people are still they're still stuck in that. I'm a Democrat. Like, I've been a Democrat my whole life. My dad was a Democrat. My granddad was a Democrat. Like,
let me tell you, Eagleville, where I live, is very much mostly red. It's a fact. And then the handful of blue that you find, it's usually attached to something like that where it's a lifelong thing, or
where they got funding from the government for their crops.
A union. He hit something. So my brother,
like if it's union employees,
I have an adopted brother, or I don't know. He's my brother. I don't want to slight him by saying he's my adopted brother because he's a Democrat. That's kind of fucked up. I love you, Mark. If you watch this, you're just as much a brother as anybody else. But dude, he's a union guy, and dude, he freaking hates Trump. And I'm like,
and they usually do.
And when I try to have a conversation with him about it, I'm like, bro, we agree on everything. Like, you and I agree on everything. Like, why can't you just let this shit go? Like, it's bullshit. Let it go. Like, but he can't because
it's one of those.
It's what's good for him and his circle.
What's funny to me is how. And they probably feel the same way about us, but it's like you could show them black and white on paper, and they just still don't believe
Can't see it. Yeah.
I mean, is it because they're just married to the institution and what it is that they grew up thinking? I mean,
I never thought about it until just most recently. And obviously, we're growing up. We're in the middle of some super important things that have went down. COVID, Trump getting elected twice, but not consecutive. Only other one is Grover Cleveland.
Yeah.
But this whole hating Trump just because is real.
Oh yeah, they definitely have no reason.
Like,
they just blindly hate him.
Yeah, and it just, I'm like, wow, you have no idea.
You think it's an ego thing also, like to admit that
I have
not wanting to recognize the shift that's happened, because let's be honest, most slave owners were Democrats, right? Back in the day. I mean, just people that don't recognize that it's kind of almost swapped, and their ego won't allow them to align with the other side.
Biden did as a politician was try to uphold segregation in schools. Yeah. One of the first things he ever did as a politician. And now he's the inclusive guy. Like, get out of here, dude.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's frustrating. And I don't even engage sometimes because I know how I feel about certain things, and it's hard for me to
temper your.
Well, it's hard for me to argue. I know how I feel, and I know there's certain things, and I know there's evidence out there for whatever I'm saying. I just don't know it off the top of my head, so I don't engage much. But I know, and I knew like this whole, like, even if you look at today, the stock market's down a little bit. But I knew that was going to happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
I knew that his first month of doing what he's doing, rocking the boat. I mean, he ain't just rocking it. He's tipping it over.
Well, he cut off the gravy train for all these
Right.
big companies. Like,
So-
of
and
course, you take billions of dollars out of their pockets. It's going to affect their bottom line.
Yeah.
Like,
But I truly believe, man, once it settles down and they figure out where that path is, we're going to see some great times.
Oh,
think so, too.
absolutely.
That's just how I feel about it.
Completely agree.
The dawn of a golden age, if you will. I mean, I truly believe that. But a lot of these institutions have to be completely dismantled in order for that to happen.
For sure.
And
And it's going to be, it's going to affect.
It's going to be
gonna
painful
have a negative
for a lot of
effect.
people.
Yeah, like
in
all
the
these
beginning.
people freaking out about the Department of Education going away. I'm like, dude, the Department of Education
it
had
outta
to
here.
go because there was so much bad in it. They'll bring back something, but it won't be that.
Let me tell you something. If I knew like my tax money was going, and they could say, hey, we're gonna give you, let's just call it for easy numbers, $10,000 per kid a year, and you go do whatever you want, whatever school you want. If I could get me and 10 other families to hire a teacher, I'll give you 20 grand a year plus these other 10 families just to teach our kids all day, every day.
Deal.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because you look at the education these days, my girls tell me all the time that they don't do nothing in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem too. Is that if they're actually are advanced or very smart, and they're stuck in a public school system, and there's not a lot for them. Once they get to a certain point, they're not learning anything.
And you hear about eighth graders not being able to read.
Yeah.
And this whole No Child Left Behind is a joke.
Yeah. So
Like, hey, we're just gonna pass you, even though you don't know anything, because we want to get federal funding.
it's all about funding.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the end
Well,
of
my
the
son
day.
went to metro school for kindergarten through 5th grade, and he had a few really, really incredible teachers. And when he got to the end of 5th grade, his math teacher came to us, and we were asking, hey, if we can try to get into a magnet school or get into a different school, like what middle schools in metro would you recommend sending him to? And she was like, if you can, I would not send him
To eat
to
any
any
of
of them. He goes,
Yeah.
you have a sweet son. He's
Even Central Magnet.
And
Yeah.
dude, that's brutal having to hear
And
that from a teacher.
Yeah, and,
Right.
and
Yeah,
luckily
it's
we
tough.
had some friends that sent their kids to Good Pasture, and I have a friend that was their high school basketball coach. Now he works kind of in their enrichment and development and fundraising, and we were able to get him into Good Pasture. And I mean, it's an incredible school. It's great. I mean, and he loves going. He's learning.
We played them.
playing sports, but she told us, she was like, I fear for what will happen to your son if he goes to any metro middle school. And hearing that from a teacher that teaches in metro was eye opening. I mean, she has friends to teach there, and she goes, the kids that come from your school to here, it's hit or miss, 50-50. Like, they get in with the wrong crowds. Like, just the culture in public schools in Nashville is pretty awful, I think, from what I've been told. I mean, thankfully he's able to go to a good Christian school, and it's different. I feel like the teachers really care about the kids, and they care about shaping young men and women to be assets in society and to
They
contribute.
probably get to teach a little bit more instead of babysit too.
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, I hate to say it, but
Well, I have no doubt in my mind that my kids could learn everything they learn in a school day in about 2 hours.
yeah.
Oh, 100%.
There's no reason for them to
homeschooled
go
him during COVID,
7
and
hours.
it was incredible. Like,
7.5 hours a day to just learn something that can be taught.
My wife's sister's a teacher, and we've talked several times. She's got 3 sisters and got 3 nephews and a couple nieces. Like, so there's a lot of kids that have been had in the last 5 years. And I've told my wife, I was like, look, we just need to hire your sister. Everybody in the family needs to chip in, and let's just have your sister teach all our kids. That way we know who's teaching, at least until high school.
Yeah.
We know it, because they're so impressionable, man. And I'm the kind of person, dude, like if my kid came home and told me that somebody hit them with some gender crap in 5th grade, I'm getting arrested.
That's
I'm
a
getting
fact.
arrested.
I'm
like,
so
I'm going
blessed.
to be down there.
I will tell you, I was blessed.
dragging people out.
And
of
that
school.
was happening in my son's 5th grade.
Yeah,
year.
no, not a chance, dude.
family lives in my neighborhood, and that's their job. They go and teach that DEI bullshit. And
well, yeah, I do, like, my girls have been to Eagleville school their whole life, their whole school career, but Eagleville is very K through 12. Mm-hmm. So my girls have been on the same campus.
How long has that high school been over? I was going to say they used to have to go somewhere else, right? I think for high school.
Man, I don't recall. I think it's all, as long as I've never heard them talk about it.
Yeah. That
way, but never had to deal with any of that stuff, and I'm so thankful and grateful that Eagleville has, even though they are a public school, they've operated in a very private way.
That's good.
You know, praying at the
good to know.
Praying at the flagpole. You know,
move my ass to Eagleville.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Joking. So
yeah,
I wanted to get out of Metro for a long time, at least out of Davidson County.
Yeah,
Eagleville's nice.
Then I already got an in with the politics.
I got
there.
you. Yeah, I'll show you where some nice property
Councilman Campbell.
Yeah.
You know where all the good fishing holes are at?
I do. I do.
That's awesome. And you're building a new Grindstone.
Yeah, we're actually should be opening probably another 6 months or so. Location number 2 in Shelbyville, Tennessee, where it's actually a lot bigger than the location we have now. It's going to have 2 levels. Main level will be kind of what we have now in Eagleville, restaurant, small stage. Second floor will be a lot of the same, but a little more upscale, a little more elegant. But we're going to have concerts,
awesome
receptions, corporate. Just it'll be an event space.
That's awesome.
And then we have a rooftop bar that's going to look over the square, which is
that'd be really
something
cool.
Is it in the downtown?
It's right there on the square. And then we'll have about 1,000 square foot speakeasy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What got you into the restaurant business?
Accident. I mean, we literally were the goal was to open a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And man, we had a small food menu, and we was about 30 days in, and when we opened our doors, it was nuts. And our customers told us really quick that we were a restaurant.
Food, yeah.
And so we just never had any intentions of being a restaurant owner.
That's awesome, though. That's how it happens sometimes.
We're still learning.
You just got to give the customers what they want.
That's it.
They follow their lead. And
like a lot of them come to visit just to kind of see it because it is an experience. But I feel like once they have a drink or have a latte or have a Cuban cowboy, you know, or one of our sandwiches, I think the food.
So is it like a deli style?
So yeah, breakfast and lunch. We do sandwiches, soups, and salads, and so we don't do anything fried. Yeah,
and you just bring in the Tennessee craft butcher stuff for when you do those concerts.
They cater the shows.
Okay,
very cool. There you go, guys. Eagleville and Shelbyville, check them out.
Come on, come on.
Yeah, so I asked you a few questions about the music side of things. I've noticed that I think your social media presence has really just blown up, in my opinion, at least in the last few years. When did you make that conscious decision to really embrace that? Because I know for me personally, like I feel like I've always fought it just because.
Well, I did. I was fighting it hardcore. You know, my manager came to me one day. She said, I need you to get into this TikTok thing. I said, no.
Yeah.
She said, I think we need to be there. I said, and at that time, it was the dances. You know, everybody was doing.
Walker Hayes was blowing up,
and and kudos to Walker. That was his thing. It just wasn't mine.
Right. Well, he's a great writer too. I mean, 100%. Anybody who knocks on Walker, for one, he's an incredibly nice guy, and he's a Bama fan. So I don't let anybody talk shit about Bama guys.
I think he's fantastic.
I think he's one of the most talented,
brilliant songwriter
I've ever been around. And I also told Maddie, I said, like, hey, I don't like singing. I don't like seeing people singing into their phone. Right. If I see it, I scroll. I just keep going. I said, so I don't know if I want to be doing that all the time. She said, well, I think you have a great sense of humor. She said, like, why don't we just kind of lean into that? And I said, okay, but even then, I don't have time, Maddie. I don't have time to film myself and edit and all that. She said, okay, I'll make you a deal. How about I find us a couple of guys, come to the house, capture the content, do it maybe once, 2 or 3 times a month, and we'll capture the content. They'll edit it and send it back to us ready to go. I said, "No, I'll do that," and that's
how you're doing.
That's what we've been doing.
That's awesome.
And I've been having so much fun with it. Thinking of some ideas and just really digging into trying to make people laugh.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is you a pretty significant social media presence, and I'm like I said earlier, I think we're close to the same age. Like, we didn't grow up with this shit.
No.
Like, I don't know. Like, I run a social media page, and it's a new world for me. Like, I feel like a layman a lot of the times, but it's also necessary in my space. Like, if I want to, be good at this, and I have to be good at that.
Even in the restaurant business, you gotta have a great social media presence.
100%, it's huge. Well, it just goes to show, like, it's where everybody goes to get their news. It's where everybody goes to get their advertising.
Somebody talking this morning asking me that they were talking about checking to see if a restaurant was open on a snow day, and their daughter said, "Well, just check their social media."
Yeah.
And he was like, "I never would think about going to social media to find out if you're open or not."
With the Riley's and Losers, that's the best way to check with us. We update that stuff all the time. Big shout out to Riley Green's Duck Blind for letting us host a podcast here. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I think the hard part for me is, like, when we got into this business, at least in the early 2000s, it was kind of right at the beginning of when iTunes came around, and all of a sudden there's a digital download for 99 cents. And I remember hearing there was so much pushback from everybody, like, this is going to ruin the music business. And I think a lot of people fought that. And then, it just starts to kind of snowball and turn into what it is now, where it's all streaming. It's like you have to really embrace the trends and the changes. And I think the people that ignore it, and I'm guilty of this, get left behind. And you have to be creative, I think, about how you embrace it. I tell people all
the time that it seems like, to piggyback off of that, I've been playing catch up my entire career, because when I signed a little bit after you guys, it was all album sales, and then it slowly transitioned into downloads, and streaming started creeping in. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta. Even my record label was like, we gotta transition into figuring out how to get people to go to that one song, as opposed to dropping a song, running it up the chart, dropping a record. Like, that was just the old way.
That was the game plan for the way
and then fast forward a couple of years, it's still streaming, but now you gotta really look at your social media. It's like, I didn't. Every time I was never on the ground floor with it. I was always like, oh, this is where everybody is. I need to go over here, and it's been fun, but at the same time, it's like, oh man,
it's a little bit exhausting.
I feel like the change that we've seen in the last 15, 20 years, I mean, if you look at kind of the old school way of doing it, I mean, it was the same for a really, really, really long time. And
it seems like it's fast forwarding.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if I'm a traditionalist or what, but, like, I grew up listening to the Eagles, Tom Petty, and you put on that record and you listen to it from front to back, and it takes you on a journey. There was an art to the sequencing. There was an art to where the song fit in the record and why, and it told a story. And there's part of me that misses that, because it is such a single-driven business now that part of the art, I feel like, has been taken out of it, and everybody's just chasing that viral story or that one thing that's gonna shoot that one song to the top, and then you can put 3 or 4 out that do nothing, and then they go and die out in digital land. It's different, but again, it's changing, and you have to really, you don't have to embrace it, but if you're smart, you'll embrace it just so you can stay relevant.
The Double Dangerous album from Morgan Wallen, where there's like,
but you have to get to that level to be even able to do that, and that is so difficult. And
his fans,
those are so few and far between.
His fan base is so big that they will consume that. But even for us, back, I knew who Keith Stegall was before I moved to town.
Yeah,
because I saw his name on all the records that I loved.
Yeah,
I knew who Brent Mason was. I knew who Pig Robbins was on piano. Like, because it was important to me to open that CD up, pull that thing out, and read it.
Oh yeah. I remember our first record we put out. I loved making the record, but I had so much fun, like, writing my thank yous and
you had a whole page
going through the whole thing to, like, because I'd always just loved that, and that was something I was obsessed with.
And now I don't think people, when they listen to music, they could care less about who wrote
story.
it, and who played on it, and who produced it.
Yeah,
that's very.
But maybe we were just weird.
Maybe.
Well, I don't know. I was about to say I'm not a musician, and I pulled that insert out and I read all of it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the lyrics were in there too.
Oh, yeah.
So you could get the lyrics, and so I would read the whole thing.
And I think there's a big difference from that era. And I've said this before. There was a certain level of mystery with these artists, and you didn't really get all the access now that we have to artists. Like, because everybody puts everything on social media. Everybody know who's dating who.
Yeah.
Every aspect of their life.
No
and
secrets.
Back then, it's like I could read that, and I almost got to create this own version of who I thought this artist was because of how they were to me.
Yeah, I say it all the time. There won't be any stars like they used to be, because you could only hear them, and you couldn't talk to them.
It was a lot different when you were just listening.
There was a reason
radio.
Elvis is Elvis, like, was because he was a mystery. It was
And,
almost like he
even
wasn't
what
real.
you thought you were seeing, he was acting.
And then when you see him,
and that was we had more access to him, and I'd say we did a lot of artists.
And the Beatles,
a lot of,
that's the reason people lost their minds when they saw him, because they didn't think they were. It was like they were seeing something.
Back in the day when the first, I've heard before that a lot of times the first time people heard Elvis on the radio, they thought he was black.
Yeah.
Just
that Motown influence. And
same way with Charlie Pride. They all thought he was white.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, that's what's funny. It's funny. We were talking about this the other day, and with the whole Beyonce thing, and how they're like, oh, country music is racist. They just don't want to embrace Beyonce. And I'm like, dude, that's not true at all. I was like, because country music loves Charlie Pride and respects the crap out of Charlie Pride. And he was Entertainer of the Year in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Like, when racism was real.
For sure.
Like, so country music
Ray Charles
certainly isn't racist.
Ray Charles made one of the greatest country records of all time. And country music embraced it.
Yeah.
And, granted, there's only a handful of successful black country artists. But I think it's just because there hasn't been many black artists that wanted to pursue country music.
And be real country.
Yeah, and so the Beyonce thing is like, it's not because it's because the product was terrible.
Yeah.
It was a terrible album.
It wasn't a country record.
That's what I'm saying.
And she said it wasn't country.
That?
Yeah, she said herself, this ain't no country record. That's exactly what she said. And now we talked about this previously. It's bonkers to me that the Grammys would give her the country album of the year when she said herself it wasn't a country album. So if the creator says it's not country, who the fuck are you to come behind them and deem it country?
That's what the Grammys are all about.
Yeah, we know that
that's on them.
Thing's a joke.
That's on them.
It's sad because when I was a kid, it was a big deal to win a Grammy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it still is. I mean, who wouldn't love to say, I got a Grammy on the wall? Like, I would love that, but at the same time, it does seem like every year it passes that they get a
little more out of touch.
It's like, what is that? Don't even make sense to me.
No, it's like, what do you?
mean, especially when you look at the other people that were nominated in that category that are just
country too.
Country.
Yeah.
Country as a tick, as they would say.
No doubt.
Tick on a coon dog.
Well, we got a couple segments we do during the show. One's called Hard Ducking Questions.
Okay.
Like I tell all the guests, you can duck if you don't want to answer it, but a duck is kind of like an answer. So I try to force you guys to answer.
Let's go.
Who's your favorite country artist? Who was a big influence to you coming up?
We talked about it earlier. The 90s, man, it's hard to pick one, like, because back then, dude, they weren't signing you unless you were just really good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I could, if it was Clint Black, if it was Tracy Lawrence, if it was Travis Tritt, Alan Jackson, Shenandoah, Diamond Rio, like, they all rocked my world. Like, that was my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
But Travis Tritt's probably at the top.
That's awesome. I love him too, man. That Super Bowl show when they were showing the last country Super Bowl show, and he's out there in like a purple and pink dad.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was like,
Such
dude,
a stud.
And I was like, this dude is more dude than you could ever imagine right now.
Right.
Like, so freaking awesome.
Me and Steven have had the opportunity to be on tour with a bunch of major artists, and we got to go on tour with him and Charlie Daniels. Daniels' last tour, and that's by far my favorite tour we've ever done. To get to hear both of them play all their hits every night. But people scare me. They're like, he's very particular. Like, he doesn't like to interact with, the opening acts. Like, and you heard the stories of him getting rolled on stage in a stage case.
In his own box.
Or a road case in his box.
Being smuggled into his own show.
Yeah. But, I mean, he couldn't have been better.
Right.
Like, he treated us, I'd smoke cigars with him and his sons out by his bus.
Sure.
Like, treated me like he'd known me his whole life.
That was something interesting when we
incredible.
did shows with Travis, how his boys was out there working.
Yeah.
Pushing gear around and stuff like that. I thought that was super
His
cool.
kids?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Everything I ever heard, he was the opposite.
Yeah.
In the best way possible. It was incredible.
Good dudes, all of them.
That's awesome. So what's the craziest thing you've seen on the road?
Craziest thing. We've seen some wild stuff that you absolutely can't say because it's just the code.
And you just wouldn't even, people wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, the country music audit, I did see, I was doing a show, Jamboree in the Hills, and a horse, a police horse, reared back, and the police fell, and the horse fell an opposite way and fell on a fence and died.
Oh, jeez.
Like that was, and I was like, I saw it all go down.
A horse falling ain't good.
No.
And if you're on it, and
Like,
he
I don't know
falls
what
on
caused
you,
it to rear up, but the policeman fell off, and then he fell over onto something in it.
Dang.
That's pretty wild.
All right, that is wild.
I wasn't expecting that.
No, definitely not. Not a dead horse.
I don't even know why I thought where that even came from. But
So how do you go about getting kicked out of a Vanderbilt basketball game?
you break the rules. No, I didn't know, man. I didn't know I was breaking the rules, and that's probably what I was not. I wouldn't say I was upset about it. I just, I went and played halftime for Vanderbilt Auburn basketball game, and they, I was there 3:00, sound check. Then me and my guitar player took a break, came over here actually, and had a beer and some hot chicken bites. And then we went back. I walked right through the front door. Nobody ever said a word. And played and was walking around, had another beer in my hand, just doing my thing. And as we was leaving, this third string cop threw his hand up and asked me what was in my pocket, and I told him it was a pocket knife, and he said, "Well, you can't have that in here." And I said, "Well, I've been here all day. Nobody said anything, and I just got done playing." He's like, "I don't care. You can't have that in here." And he started calling other people over, and just real. I just thought it was handled pretty wrong. And yeah, they escorted me out they're escorting me to death row or something. Like there's 3 of them behind me. Just
Damn.
That's wild.
That happened recently?
yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Dang. It's crazy. Well, isn't that kind of on them because they let you in and didn't see it? Like, and you didn't know any better? Like,
Well, see, that's what and some people were commenting on the video that I made. You should know, you can't, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I didn't know. Like, I carry my pocket knife everywhere.
Yeah, same.
Like, I don't care. I know that you can't take it to the airport. I do know that. But even then, I have taken it to the airport, and they says, hey, you can't have that. They don't almost put me in handcuffs.
Right.
Well,
yeah, I tried to take a 18-inch Bowie knife on a plane on the way to the ACMs one year, got arrested, and they held the plane for me and made sure I made my flight. Like, they didn't make an example out of me or anything, and I pig hunting the night before, stuck a pig in the neck and I was an alcoholic, drunk back then, and I grabbed the wrong backpack and we're late for the airport.
you just go.
Just went.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. And I saw him pulling it out. I was like, oh shit.
And that's what I was telling. I haven't responded to some of those people just because it's just like, I didn't know, first of all. And then second of all, I made a mistake. I didn't cause a scene. When he told me I literally said, man, I'm leaving right now.
So you're gonna kick me out on my way out? That's crazy.
And so they just felt the need to
assert their authority,
walk with me, and I'm like,
that's nuts.
I don't know. I almost
kudos to you
thought
for how
about
you
to
handled
myself
it,
just because there weren't nobody scanning. There was no metal detectors. I almost said, probably half of the dudes here have a knife on them.
Yeah.
Do you know this?
Yeah.
I just happen to have mine clipped on the outside, so I'm not trying to hide it.
Yeah, we started using metal detectors at the bars here in town for a little while, and we were blown away by how many knives and guns. I mean, we were just like, holy shit! Like,
I carried all my adult life.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's always a pistol within hand's reach of where I am, on the road. Always.
mine's in my backpack over there.
Well, I'll take that back.
I was about to say there's probably 3
mine's
within
in the
arm's
truck,
reach.
but I didn't bring it in here. But yeah.
Dang.
The only reason I didn't bring it in here is because I'm probably going to have me a beer here in a second. So
yeah, and I understand. It's like
I
it's
can't
a
drink
bar,
a beer and have a gun at the same time.
have a gun on you, but I don't drink, so it's different. But even I got all into the gun carrying laws and stuff. Like even at the mall, like if you go through a door that doesn't have it posted, you're in the clear. And I always make sure,
worst ones.
like if I'm at Opry Mills, and then now they've put it on every single entrance, but for years they didn't. And somebody saw it because I was printing.
Man, I'll take my chance.
Somebody said something
at Opry Mills.
I was about to say at Opry Mills,
I'm carrying mine.
there's plenty of other people in there with theirs.
I'm saying I'm carrying mine. You walk into Grindstone Cowboy, I have a sign that says the opposite.
Yeah.
It says the legal carrying of firearms is welcome here.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I want you to know that people.
That's probably why your place does so well.
Exactly. Ain't nobody.
Yeah, we have that sign next door that says, "Due to increasing prices in ammo, no warning shots will be fired." So,
that's awesome. Well, I got one last question for you. It's something I meant to ask, but I'm curious. Like, what are you most proud of that you've achieved? Not necessarily in your career, but just maybe career, but in life. Like, what is it that you're proudest that you'll be able to leave as far as your legacy goes that you've accomplished so far?
Man, it's hard to pick, and narrow that down to one particular. Like I'll say that I feel like if I'm nowhere ever around and my kids and they have the opportunity to talk about me and my life and my career, I think they will be very proud of me. That's a big deal to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean they'll be able to say Dad did what he loved.
Yeah. And
that's pretty freaking
he showed,
awesome.
And what we do is not easy. And
not for the faint
it's a
of heart,
hard
that's
work.
for sure.
It's a hard job to do. The country music fans, they just hear the music and they see the shows. They don't realize the heartbreak goes into radio promising they'll play your song and then they don't play it. And then
they see the peaks, not the valleys.
Or even like how you feel about a song and then the public not receiving it the same way. I mean, that's got to be fucking tough. Like,
you think about,
because you feel about your art way differently than I feel about your art. And
what's worse is when you feel a certain way about your art and then everybody else feels the same way about your art and then it dies at 24 on the chart.
Yeah, because somebody on the promo team,
Outskirts of Heaven. Well, to this day, I just feel like that was one of the biggest misses.
Oh man, what a great song!
I couldn't agree more.
Important song.
I happen to be a writer on it, but at the same time, I just feel like that was a good song.
Yeah, should have done better.
I feel like did it get a little bit of an extra boost when what's his name?
Yeah, Warren. He
his cover of it.
It did.
And y'all did a video
when he
together,
covered it, and we
didn't
did some social media stuff together. And
really good.
That's actually when I kind of realized TikTok was was when we did some stuff together, and I went from like 3,000 followers on TikTok to 75 overnight. It was the wildest.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a big.
Because when he posted about it, he had like a 1.5 million at that time, and it was just.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
I think that's
one
of the greatest.
And
country songs
we
I've
can
ever
talk
heard,
shit about social media, but then like it gave new life to that great song.
Yeah, even when he called me and he's like,
there.
"Hey, my fans want to hear the whole thing. Can I record it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You have a whole nother audience that has no idea about me or that song." I said, "I don't care who sings it, as long as they get to hear it."
Yeah, hell
and
yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on today.
Man,
yeah,
I've
guys,
had a blast.
Go check him out. He's one of the good guys in country music, that's for sure, y'all. Craig Campbell, appreciate you coming on the show.
Man, I appreciate y'all squeezing me in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you. All right. That's a wrap.